If I could go back to when I was younger to improve the power of my swing, I would do these 3 things differently. Hey, it's Coach Garcia from Carga Baseball. Welcome to another video. If you're watching this video, you're probably looking to improve your power. I work with 100 of players every week, and they often ask me how can they improve their power to hit the ball harder and farther. When you improve your power, every other offensive stat seems to improve with it. You're going to get more hits, you're going to increase your batting average, you're going to get more RBIs, you're going to get in higher slugging percentage, you're going to get more extra base hits, and obviously you're going to get more homers. Working on these 3 simple tips is going to help you out to add a little bit of power into your swing, and I don't think any hitter is going to be against that. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 simple but powerful tips that are going to help you out to generate more power and enhance your bat speed. Let's get started. Okay, first of all, let's make something clear. Your hips are going to be the engine of your swing, and the way you use them, having the ground as a leverage, is going to be extremely important to enhance my rotational power. Just make sure that when we start rotating and attacking with our hips, we're trying to keep our upper half closed to guarantee that we work with the right sequence. As you guys can see in here, the rotation starts from the engine, from my hips. Making sure that when I land into my launch position, I keep pressuring to the ground to use the ground as a leverage to maximize my rotational power. And also enhancing the way how I capture energy up to my body. So at some point I gotta stop with my hips, creating some decel patterns to be able to capture energy up to my body. Making sure that I work with the right sequence, starting from my hips, the engine, my torso, then the rotation that I create from these 2 is gonna propel my hands quicker into the strike zone. What I often see, especially from young hitters, is that they start with the wrong sequence, being dominant with their upper half, working with upper half swing and push. But we have to keep in mind that when we keep this right sequence, it's going to be the most efficient way to be able to gain speed up to my body at the end of my swing. Also, at some point, we got to create some decel patterns too, coming from our torso, trying to work with, as a coach, we talk, use your body as a whip. Instead of just rotating when out of control, then now having my bat and my hands behind on my body and dragging pretty much everything else into the strike zone. Okay, when we talk about the rubber band effect, it's basically the separation that we create from our front hip to our back shoulder. This type of separation happens when we strike toward the pitcher to pull the slack out of our body, to be a solid object and be able to generate as much rotational power as possible. Going back to the sequencing, when I start my rotation with my engine, with my hips, so this separation essentially happens when I strike toward the pitcher. Just make sure that when you strike forward, you're going to have your backside leading your movement forward, and at the same time staying back, and work with the right sequencing. Start my rotation with my hips, the engine, but at the same time I want to keep my upper half closed to maximize the separation from my front hip and my back shoulder. When I work with this sequence, I'm going to have some tension across my chest, and a good sign from doing it efficiently is when you see some wrinkles in the front part of your jersey. An easy example of this separation and stretch is when we do a slingshot, then we create some stretch, taking the band all the way back and releasing it to create some force. It's also extremely important to keep this tension across my body when my front foot is landing into the ground, getting into my launch position. Young hitters also have the tendency to lose this tension early during their swing, losing the ability to have this tension across their chest and lose a ton of speed. Another thing to keep in mind is that at some point I gotta close this gap in between my front hip and my back shoulder to be able to transfer all this force that I create early during my stretch as soon as possible. A common red flag that I see is when hitters don't work with some decel patterns, especially having their front hip running away from their back shoulder. Another sign that hitters are not working with these decel patterns is when they finish with their swing having their chest pretty much facing the third base dugout when they are a right-handed hitter. So going back to these decel patterns to be able to close this gap that we create at the beginning of our swing, I want to feel that my upper half is going to overlap my lower half. Having this sequence during my swing, I'm going to have my bat over raising my body and propelling my hands as quick as possible. Also, a quick bonus tip is that great hitters, they have a strong front side, trying to resist this rotation, using the ground as a leverage and gaining speed up to their body. After I signed with the Royals out of high school as an international free agent, I was struggling to find a personal trainer. So the best option that I have by then was to start working with a bodybuilder. One of the biggest struggles that I have at the beginning of my career was to gain weight. So it didn't sound crazy to me to start working with a bodybuilder to start gaining weight and get bigger. Even when I gained some weight and got bigger, I sacrificed a lot of my mobility, flexibility, and the way how I move on the field. Also, one thing that I noticed when I started getting bigger was that I started losing a ton of my arm strength. So make sure you also use some of your resources to hire a personal trainer and a personal hitting coach. So please make sure that you surround yourself with a good team that can help you out to achieve your goals on and off the field. Just keep in mind that at some point it's not how hard do you work, it's how smart and consistent you work to achieve your personal goals and get 1% better every day. So surrounding yourself with a good team during the off season is going to be a huge help to separate yourself from the rest. Now, if you want to know some of the drills and exercises that I did during my professional career, comment the word drills down below. And if you want to keep learning and improve your swing, I'm going to leave this video here. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.